Lake Wakatipu Waimaui is the lake that now sits beside Queenstown, but it wasn't always here. The Rapuai people who lived here told a story of Matau, an evil giant that fed on members of their hunting parties. The chief's daughter was a beautiful young woman called Manata. She was in love with a young man named Matakodi, but the chief said no. Matakodi was not good enough. One night, Manata disappeared, and word spread that Matau had kidnapped her. The chief was heartbroken. Whoever rescues my daughter can take her hand in marriage. This was Matakodi's chance. He knew Matau always slept when the northwest wind blew. So when that wind was blowing, he set out to save Manata. He found her and tried to cut the bonds which held her, but failed. Manata begged him to leave, but Matakodi refused. Manata began to cry. The love in her tears melted away the cords, and they escaped back to the village where they married. However, Matakodi knew that while Matau lived, none of the people were safe. So when that northwest wind blew, he set out again. He placed a great mound of taramea grass around Matau as he slept. He then set fire to the taramea. Matau was covered in flames, the fat from his body feeding the fire. The blaze was so fierce that it burned a hole deep into the ground. It melted the snow on the hills that filled the hole that became Lake Wakatipu. They also say that Matau's heart did not burn and still beats under the lake. This drives the rise and fall of the water. Apart from Matau's beating heart, one of the other remarkable features of this lake is the native longfin eel. The biggest eel in the world. They live here for up to 80 years before they head down the Kodo River to the Pacific Ocean, where it's believed they travel over 2,000 kilometers to spawn up around Tonga. It's an incredible journey, much like the one we're about to take today. So, we're cleared for takeoff. There's Queenstown as it is today. You'll recognize it, that's the jetty down there where we have just come from. First up, we're going to check all systems are working with a small jump back in time. And here we are, 1,000 years ago. And this is how Queenstown looked back then. It's 250 years before humans discovered these islands. Because there were no ground-based predators at all, it is truly a land of birds. So that was a 1,000-year jump. Now for the big one. We're back 19 million years. Back to a time when Queenstown was thousands of kilometers from where it is today. And most of it was underwater. That's because it was part of a huge landmass that had just broken away from Gondwanaland, creating a separate continent, which is now called Te Reo a Maui. Even today, most of Te Reo a Maui is underwater. 90 million years ago, so was New Zealand. And the incredible prehistoric sea life that lived and died in these waters is only now being discovered in fossils found in both the North and South Islands. Now if you keep an eye out over there on the right, you will see one of the two biggest creatures that rule these waters. There she is, the plesiosaur. She looks a lot scarier than she is. This fella, on the other hand, He's a mosasaur. We call him Murray, part lizard, part crocodile, and he can get very grumpy. They grew up to 60 feet long and could weigh as much as 6 tons. In 1984, 2 fishermen at a place called Shad Point, not far from Queentown, found a fossil of one of these. It's been dated at 70 million years old. Some days he makes it very clear that he's not happy to see us down here. Hopefully, he hasn't done too much damage. Let's see if we can start on our way back to modern-day Queentown with a couple of stops on the way. Here's the first one. 65 million years ago, time when giant dinosaurs roamed the earth. And there he is, our very own Tuatara. All of these dinosaurs once lived on the land that makes up Aotearoa. Their fossils have been discovered in the North Island, around Hawke's Bay. There's another reason we've stopped off at 65 million years, and it's about to show itself. The Chicxulub impactor, an asteroid 10 kilometers wide, traveling at 72,000 kilometers an hour. It hit Earth where Mexico is today, creating a crater that was almost 200 kilometers wide. The blast traveled around the world, killing every animal that weighed over 25 kilograms. The Tuatara was one of the few to survive. When the dust cleared, over 2/3 of all living creatures on Earth were gone. We're 15 million years out now, and Aotearoa, New Zealand is taking shape. I'll turn the scanner on and we can see what's happening underneath. The South Island's nearly done, but the Southern Alps are still making their way slowly to the surface. It's pretty hot under there, so I'll put the shields up. That's the Australian plate and the Pacific plate coming together, forcing their way to the surface to create the Southern Alps. It's a process that will take millions of years, so I'll turn the time warp on and we can speed things up a bit. Being born. Fascinating fact is that they are still growing today, and they grow at the same speed as your fingernails. We're getting closer to home now, just 15,000 years out. And this is Queentown during the last ice age, when the world was just 5 degrees colder than it is today. Lake Wakatipu still doesn't exist, but this glacier is about to change that. We'll just park up here and watch the glacier carve out Lake Wakatipu. A few million tons of ice and rock grinding their way down the valley over thousands of years. Check out the heads-up display on the left, and you can see the lake start to form. And there we have it, Lake Wakatipu 750 years ago. As you can hear, it's still that wonderful land of birds. It's so safe that many of them, like the moa and the kiwi, have forgotten how to fly. And there's our tuatara, the only place on the planet you'll find them. But things are about to change, because 750 years ago, humans finally made it here as well. The first, our Maori ancestors, they had travelled across the largest body of open water on the planet, Te Moana Nui a Kiwa, the Pacific Ocean. 500 years later, they were followed by the first Europeans. And today, travellers from around the world continue to make their journey, many of them here to Queenstown. While Queenstown has a permanent population of around 20,000, they are joined each year by more than 3 million visitors who come to enjoy some of the most spectacular scenery in the world and to take part in a whole host of thrill-seeking, adventure-packed activities, many of them invented here. So while we wait for our clearance to land, let's get a small taste of the adventure capital of the world. Kia tau te rangi Māria. May good fortune be upon you. Travel safe.